Welcome to the recovery scene. Tonight we have Mike Gleam. His addiction started between the ages of 12 and 13, he says. He has gone from addict to running, Recovery Army Outreach, Inc. And then
Yes, correct. Yeah.
okay, good. And he's also published in the We Are Warriors online magazine. There's a lot that he's going to tell you. So I'm just going to let Mike take over because he's the one that you want to hear from. So, hey, Mike, thank you so much for being on our channel and being willing to come on here and share your story.
I appreciate it. I'm super grateful that you invited me on. Any chance I get to speak about addiction and/or recovery, I jump at the opportunity to do so. Just to reintroduce myself, I am Mike. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and addict. The thing about me, if anybody works at fellowship or at 12 steps, anything that they know that anonymity is one thing that's a principle that some people, hold dear to themselves. I don't. I refuse to be anonymous. I recover out loud. I'm not afraid to talk about it. It made me who I am today. And really the goal is to just hope somebody else doesn't go down the path that I went. And I think words can be very powerful, especially our stories. And the thing about words, they're free. It's the way that you use them that'll cost you. So, I choose to use mine in an encouraging, inspiring kind of way, which I didn't do for a very long time. I was not a very nice for quite a while. With that being said, a lot of my issues started underlying issues. It was depression, anxiety at, 11, 12, 13 years old, and just never felt like I fit in anywhere, including my family as well. I have an older sister who was pretty much perfect growing up. I really never lived up to that. She has blonde hair, blue eyes. The rest of the family has dark hair, dark eyes. We tell her she's adopted. So I just in every sense of the word felt like I never fit in anywhere. And what I found was a solution when, most people start hanging out on the weekends with friends and drinking, smoking weed, whatever it may be. And for me, a lot of those people chase that feeling to get intoxicated and have fun. For me, it was never that. For me, it was just to really, I found out if I ingest something or take something, it gets me outside of self, and makes me feel like I fit in. And I thought it made me feel normal. So really my addiction was anything and everything that would get me outside of right here and right now.
That's a really common theme. Nearly every single addict, alcoholic that I have spoken to, one of the first things they say, I never felt like I fit in.
Oh, yeah, just never did. Never did. And, I think it's just because I never treated the underlying issues. I never treated these things. And this is what I found at such a young age that I thought did that. And so I ran with it for quite some time. It wasn't long before I was, I started selling drugs at probably 13, 14 years old. And with that, I thought I was filling the void that I had inside, because then all of a sudden I felt needed. I felt wanted because I have what you need now. And that sense of power and authority that came with that. And I thought that was filling my void. And then also, the material things that I was able to accumulate, I should say. Sorry. So I'll get to the point about the brain injury later, which happens sometimes. So just accumulate that stuff so quickly and so easily, became an addiction of itself, just the behavior, not being let go of that behavior. So I started doing that at a young age, and all through high school, it was freshman year. I get caught with a bunch of substances I shouldn't have on me in school. Cops get involved. So I pretty much left with the option, we're either going to kick you out and expel you from school, or you can transfer schools. And for me, I was lucky. I was fortunate. My mother worked for the school district. Definitely wasn't a good look for her. But,
I'm sure she was very happy with you.
Thrilled. So, basically, I had the option to be able to get homeschooled. So I got homeschooled. And since she worked for the school district, they pretty much kept me in the same district, let me work the same curriculum that grade would be working, where I would be at in those classes. And I could just do it at home without a tutor or anything like that. So I was left at home with my own devices with just, a few papers to do during the day. My mom and dad worked all day. And so I would just get that done in like an hour or two, literally in my day. And then I'm just waiting for everybody to get off the bus stops and bring what they need, and just continue to do that, which really went through all of high school. I was never even interested in like soft hop, junior prom, senior prom. I didn't go to any of them, but since I was with the school districts, I was able to if I wanted to. I had a long-term girlfriend at the time, all through high school, the same girlfriend, and I would tell her, take one of my friends, take someone else. I honestly rather be home in my room with a bottle. That truth of it, that's what it was. And isolation played a big part of my childhood. It came to a point at one point where I was almost diagnosed agoraphobic, literally would not leave the house. It was pretty dark. And a lot of it was from, the mental health issues that I just never addressed. And so, after that, after like high school years, she moves away to college and things like that. And now, mind you, during this time also, I had a couple of very close loved ones, my grandmother and my great grandmother, who practically raised me because my parents worked so much. And, they both became ill and were put on hospice in our home. We had them live in the home. We had nurses coming in, taking care of them. And, they declined pretty rapid, health-wise, and end up passing in front of me there, with me there in the house. And at that age, I really didn't know how to deal with the emotion, which just kind of made things so much worse. And the snowball effect, and started using more and more and more, and drinking more and more. So it quit.
Right, in place of a healthy outlet.
Yeah, right. I didn't know
Unhealthy outlet.
with what I knew. And that's why I honestly wish that, schools and really taught what is really necessary, how to handle emotion, how to save money, the things that like we really need to know when we grow up. Like I know other countries that literally they'll send their students into detention, and their detention right after school is meditation. Like, I think that's just amazing. Like, it's just, we're just completely on a different page, and just, just for me, this just took me the wrong way. And I just never liked it. So it was a perfect out for me to go homeschooled, I felt like, too, because I was never social, hated being around people, hated school. So it was perfect for me. And so, I did that for a while. I did end up getting a diploma from that high school. And that's the thing about it. Like, I've always been smart and been good at what I did, that I put myself and made myself do and forced myself to do. In school, I was getting D's and F's, but, it was more, I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to associate with anybody. And just frankly didn't care. I ended up passing with A's and B's and get my diploma when I pretty much just taught myself everything. I graduate from there. The girl at the end moves away. And I start working at this sales job, and I meet this other female, and I moved out of my house, probably 19 years old or so, 18, 19 years old, moved to one of the neighboring counties where I was living. And she moves into my apartment very quickly. And within about 3 months, I find out she's pregnant. She says she's pregnant. And at this point, I really don't like the lifestyle I'm living. I don't like myself by any means. I hate myself. Don't like the skin I live in. I'm pretty much suicidal at this point. And finally, I felt like that was something that may fix me, that may help me, was another human being, my firstborn child, might just make me, go down the correct path this time. And, the baby was born. It was a baby boy. And about 8 months into our relationship, after the baby's been born, we had a pretty rocky relationship. We separated. She moved back in with her mother. And I get a phone call from her mother one day saying, there's a chance that he might not be yours. And that really, really devastated me. So, she couldn't even tell me. So I confronted her about it. And, we have to give a paternity test. We have to see. And because literally I felt like my life depended on it. So we got the paternity test, longest 48 hours of my life. At that point, at least. There were some longer times after. And it came back that he was not. So he was not.
Blow.
It was devastating. It was my firstborn son, truly what I was living for at that moment in my life. And I felt like it was just taken away, along with any will that I had left. So, followed by that came suicide attempts. Now I'm really, I mean, that added so much fuel to the fire. I mean, this was not just an everyday thing, it was an every hour thing, to use anything and everything. So it went on for a while, and I'm at this other job now, and I meet another female, of course, part of my story, and you know, females as well. And I meet her, and so she moves into the apartment I was living in. Almost same scenario. About 3 months later or so, she says she's pregnant, and some based on my previous experience, it has nothing to do with you, but we have to get a paternity test just because I will literally probably kill myself if this child is not mine. And so we got a paternity test, and thank God, came back that he is my son. So that's my oldest fraternal son, who his name is Michael. He is about to be 16 years old, and is absolutely so smart, amazing. He's going to be a politician, I swear. He stands up for his purposes and what he believes. Absolutely amazing. He's so smart. And I end up with this woman for about 9 years of my life, an extremely toxic relationship. You know, I had another son with her, Julian, who's my younger son. He's about to be 13. And, you know, that relationship was, I thought I found the one, you know, and by this point we buy a house out in Northeast Philadelphia, you know, and I'm still paying the rent and paying for the car notes with illegal money. You know, I'm still doing the same lifestyle. It's how I paid for things. It was my way of life kind of at this point. And like I said, I thought I found like the one, but mostly because it was just a running partner for me at the end of the day. You know, she would co-sign anything I would say, and I would do the same. So if I wanted to do something, she would too. If she would, I would too, you know. And there were some attempts that both of us tried to get some time and get in recovery. And but as soon as one went out, the other one followed.
Right.
You know,
it's kind of enabling each other.
Oh yeah, big time. Codependency to the max. I mean, it was definitely like that. And it lasted a long time. So the lifestyle I was living, though, you know, that kind of lifestyle does not have a pension plan. It does not have a retirement plan. It does not have health benefits. These things are never guaranteed. So things run out. It happens. And that's exactly what happened. You know, things ran out. I end up getting evicted from the house, lose the house, lose the cars. And even up to then, like, I'm buying a new car every year. Like, I'm doing all these things, like still trying to fill this void, you know, that I'm missing inside, because I've never addressed any of these issues, not just the underlying issues, but to even admit that I really do have a problem. You know, I used to, earlier when in my younger years, that, you know, I'd brag about, yeah, I'm an alcoholic. Yeah, I am. Like, I thought it was a cool thing. Like, you know, little did I know where it was going to take me. And so, you know, we moved down to a friend of mine's that lived in Frankfurt, Philadelphia, which is right down the street down from where Northeast Philadelphia, same type of area. And this house, you know, we stayed in a room there for a couple nights. I had my children with me. It's the middle of the winter. So the house is basically almost like an abandoned house, just with running water, cold water at that, and some electricity. It only took about a day or two for me to realize I cannot have my children in this situation. Absolute failure right now, and they certainly don't deserve this. So fortunately, her mother did step up and came and picked them up, and they stayed with her for a while. And now this was the time when we were supposed to get our shit together, and start rebuilding, get them back, and you know, and the hard part was, you know, I really truly wasn't willing to let go. You know, as sad as it is, you know, we always say, like, you have to do it for yourself, which is completely true. And my reminder to anyone out there really, though, is, you know, even if you have any outside motivating factors to get clean or sober, whether it be a children, you know, spouse, family members, a job, whatever it may be, hold on to it till you want to do it for yourself. For me, it was just, the obsession was uncontrollable, and just the behaviors were even worse. So, you know, left untreated, the same person at the end of the day. And I just control these things. It was an obsession of mind to body. So I end up, you know, I leave that place. She goes her way. I kind of go mine. We kind of just separated and did our own thing. And now I'm just out on the street. So I leave there, and now I'm down in Kensington, Philadelphia. And if you don't know anything about Kensington, Philadelphia, I strongly suggest YouTubing it, just to get an idea of what a different world it is there. It is a third world country. It's a lawless part of the city. Cops are told not to intervene. They drive down the street and do not turn their heads unless it's life or death. There's right on the sidewalk on their curb, people shooting up, people shooting each other up, drinking, passed out on the ground. There's fires. I mean, like, it's literally hell on earth. Like, it's insane. And I spent, down there, in all, I spent probably 6 years at least on the streets down there. Abandoned houses, a park bench. I'd go downtown to hospitals, and I knew the security guards at this point by like first name, and saying, can I just get 2 hours? Because it's the middle of the winter and they're calling code blues, and they're still, all the shelters are packed and won't let anybody in. And, can I get 2 hours on this seat just to warm up in the waiting room? I'm not going to bother anybody. And some would say yes, some would say no. And every homeless shelter there is in Philadelphia, at least once, and the surrounding areas. During these times of years, all I had was the clothes on my back, and, even in the winter, I had slides on my feet. Like, it was just insanity. There were certain times I really couldn't even walk, just from like trench foot type, it was just that bad. No self-care whatsoever, just chasing the next one. And so I finally did come to a point, though, where I did feel somewhat willing. I said, look, I can't keep doing this. I just can't keep doing it. So I decided to try Suboxone maintenance. So I went to this program. It was an IOP program. I went for 3 hours, 3 days a week, and they would give me 2 weeks worth of prescriptions for, Suboxone. The thing is, like, I thought this maybe would be my miracle drug. This would, I'd stop everything. I'd be, and everything would be great from this point on. And that was just not true. I didn't give myself to the therapy that was there. I didn't try to work any program. I went there to get my medication. All right, and I'll see you next time. I'm just out there with my head down doing the groups and everything like that. And I was on there for 2 years. So I did it for 2 years, never letting go of the behaviors. So they'll give me a 2-week prescription, but I'm taking like a quarter of one or half of one a day to try to manage the obsession for the opiates, and I'm selling the rest. And I'm doctor shopping at this point and going to 4 different doctors for Xanax and all these other things. And, this was before they had like this central database where they can track all this now. So I could get away with it. Then I'm paying cash for this one, insurance for this one, good RX for this one.
Right.
And that's how I supported everything I was doing. And I knew that, and this place really didn't hold you accountable. And, it's not to discredit them at all, but, it is what it is, unfortunately, some of these places where, I knew every Tuesday I would be getting a urine. And so I would just plan around that. So as long as I didn't come up hot for benzos, like benzodiazepines or alcohol, then I'm okay. So I melted the cup come Tuesday with everything else that you could possibly pee dirty for. And that's what I did. I would stop doing things on a Thursday or a Friday. So I'm still manipulating the shit out of the program. Like, that's just what I did. And until one day, so they do these surprise pill checks and pill counts. So you have to have a phone in order to be on the program, so they can call you for times like this. So I have what we used to call like an Obama phone, like a welfare phone, and a flip phone, and even this. And they call me one day, and the phone's not on, so they don't get a hold of me. So I go in the next day, just like everything is, how it usually is. And they're like, well, you missed the call yesterday. You were supposed to come in and you didn't make it in. So I don't know what to tell you, but you're kicked off. You're done. So that day I was kicked off the program, after 2 years of being on maintenance. And, at that point too, like they would give me, and I'm homeless the whole time. And so they'd give me like 2 bus tokens every time I left group. And I would go directly across the street to the Chinese store and either sell them for $1 a piece, so I have $2 to put towards the next thing I want to get, or another drink or something, or literally buy my diet consist of buying 1 pint of white rice and get the crispy noodles with it and put a soy sauce and a duck sauce on it. And that would be my meal for the next 2 days. And like, that's how I survived literally for, I couldn't even tell you how long. Like, that was it. I was 150 soaking wet, all bone. And So I get kicked off this program, and 2 days later, I get locked up. So now I'm in jail, back in jail. There's already been some jail time leading up to this point. I'm violating, so absconding, not reporting. End up back in jail. So I do about 9 months in jail. So I detoxed there pretty hard in jail. And the whole time though, come the end of that sentence, I started feeling better physically. I was doing pretty well. And so I just pretty much, it was just a battery charge for me. I just came out and continued to do what I was doing. And really unwillingly at this point, like I really didn't want to, but I didn't know how to stop. Like I didn't know the tools that were there. I didn't see an out. It's just kind of all I knew.
Right. That's why I think it says, at the end, addicts are using against their will.
Mm-hmm.
Because we get to a point where we don't want to anymore, but we don't know what else there is. It's like I tell people that I work with, it's like your body and your brain have forgotten the life that was before you're getting high and drunk, and you have no idea what that's like anymore. Right. So it's not just terrifying, but we have no idea how to get there.
Yeah. Just becomes so programmed. And then the longer it lasts, it's so much harder to rewire that program and to relearn new ways. And little did I know what I had at my disposal. I just wasn't using it. Recovery is a verb. It's an action word. I was not doing it. Right. And I put it down and thought that I was in recovery, but I wasn't. I talked to people who relapse, and and some people, they just put down the drug or the alcohol and think things are going to get better, and don't address internal issues and why, and the wreckage of the past and your character, like learning all these things, thinking you're just going to be a different person, and it just doesn't happen. And I asked him, I said, so you said you relapsed, but did you really relapse if you weren't even in recovery? Like, that's what I ask people. Like, were you really in recovery? Were you just dry? You just put it down. Did you do the internal work? Did you work on yourself? Were you working a program? Because honestly, if you're not really in recovery, you didn't really relapse. You've never really done the actual work. It's footwork. You got to put the work in to do it. So, I just never did that. I get out of there, and so I'm back at the same stuff that I've been doing, and back in the streets of Kensington again. Now,
let me ask you real quick. Have you seen your boys at all during this time?
During this time, some phone calls, a couple visits here and there. Not much at all, though. No, not much. And that's where I held most of my shame and guilt came from, was not being there for them. And even while I'm using, thinking of them, knowing I should not do this and cannot do this, and still doing it. Like, that's how powerful that obsession is. And that's completely when it's no longer a choice. I'm doing this against my own will, and I need to find a way out. And for me, it was a spiritual awakening that did that. It was a spiritual program for me that did that finally. Where I ended up in the ICU as John Doe, and really relearned who I was completely, which I can tell you a little bit more in a bit. But I finally, I said, again, I'm like, okay, this has to stop. I'm going to give it another shot. I got to go to treatment this time. So, and there's been psych units and stuff like that before this, but it was never for addiction. No, I always said I have mental health. And found it now, because I know that if I go to mental health, at least a psychiatrist say, yeah, you should be on that medication. You should be on that. And so I can still take the substance and pills they want to give me and not treat the addiction and just blame it on my mental health, not knowing that, total absence was the way. And, and I figured, I'm like, well, if a doctor co-signs off on it, it must be okay. It must be all right. How are you going to tell me? The doctor told me it's fine. So and that's pretty much what I stood on. And so, I had Medicaid the whole time, state funded insurance and everything like that. And they offered me one place. It's a place in West Philadelphia that really pushes a methadone maintenance program. Like, that's what they do. And then just get you set up, stabilized on maintenance, and then set you up for your IOP program afterwards. That's pretty much what they do. So I figured it was a lesser of the evils rather than putting a needle on my neck. And because it got to that point, that's the only place I could even go. You know, I literally had abscesses all over. I had blown veins. I remember even using baby diapers to cover abscesses that were so large I could see the bones on my arm.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
it was really that bad, and not going to the hospital and even get it treated. I mean, it was pretty bad. So I go there, I'm there for 28 days or so, and I'm still manipulating everything. It's these damn behaviors I cannot get rid of. And little did I know it at that time, though. Now in hindsight, of course, I see it and finally figured it out. But so I'm manipulating the doctor. You know, they start you on 30 milligrams to get you stable, and then I'm seeing the doctor every other day. It's not holding me. It's not holding me. I need more. I need more. I need more. You know, it's never enough, because I wanted to be high. That was really, at the end of the day, that's what it was. So I leave there on 130 milligrams, and discharged to an IOP program. And of course, I meet a female there in treatment. And, you know, and I'm sure most people know how successful those relationships are. Really good percent of successful relationships that meet in treatment. But, you know, I thought, hey, maybe, you know, I didn't know any better. And so she got out before me and said, you know, I'll come get you in the discharge. You can stay at my place. I said, all right, great. So comes time, like we're gonna be on the same IOP program anyway, so it just kind of worked out. She comes and picks me up. I leave the facility and go to her house, to a house where she had already gutted her house of all her copper and pipes and everything before she went away to treatment. So now I'm in a house. Literally no running water. There's nothing but electricity. I'm taking empty buckets and gallons in duffel bags up to the hospital and going in the bathroom and filling them up, carrying them all the way back just to be able to flush toilets and stuff like that. And I was like, well, you know, I'm not on the street. I have another person to co-sign my bullshit. And, you know, and that's how it went for a while. I was on this program for 5 years. So I went to the clinic every single morning for 5 years to get medicated. And the times I talk about maintenance, I don't get into the debate of whether someone's clean or sober, if they're on Suboxone or methadone or anything like that. My thing is, if you have exhausted every option and you've tried a program, you've tried therapy, you've tried, you know, spirituality, whatever it may be for you, and you've exhausted every option and you just can't seem to get it, then by all means, you know, whatever gets you another day where you're not hurting people, you want to kill yourself, you know, you're robbing or stealing, you got your kids in your life, so be it. Like, that's your journey. Mine. I do not judge whatsoever when it comes to that. It just didn't work for me because I used it as a crutch and not a tool at the end of the day. So, you know, it just didn't personally work for me. So with that being said, the relationship up and down, we're running partners again, and these damn behaviors I can still not let go of. So, you know, I quickly learned my market and know what other kind of pills intensify the effect of methadone and stuff. And I start selling those on the program and stuff to other people that come to the program. And and then I end up leaving her back on the street. I'm still doing these same things. And after 5 years, and I'm that guy, like, you have to give 2 straight clean urines. So once a month for 2 months, and you can get stepped down to an OP program and get some take homes, only have to go to 2-hour groups twice a week. 5 years, I could not step down. For 5 years, I could not give him 2 clean straight urines. I mean, it was insanity. It was insanity. And so I just got so fed up with the clinic life and how things were. And my life was getting worse, honestly, for me personally. So I threw my hands off. I'm like, I can't even do this. I'm like, I just got to stop. And so I talked to the doctor, you know, how can I get off of this? He said, we'll take you down about 2 milligrams a week. I'm no mathematician, but I did the math, and I'm like, that's going to take forever. And I'm not okay with that. So, you know, me exercising my will, as I always did, decided, you know what, I'm just going to leave. So that's what I did. I walked off the program. I stayed at a friend's house in a basement. Day 1, day 2, day 3, not so bad. And man, 4 and 5 come, and 6. And I'm like, wow, this is absolutely brutal. This is extremely painful. And so I thought I had a good idea at the time, because I was so in so much physical pain. I said, maybe if I just do a little bit of meth, maybe that'll make me feel better. And I did. And it was one of the worst ideas I've ever made, ever. So, it was okay for the moment. It made me feel a little bit better, but then I'm up for more days. And when I came down from that, I mean, it was tenfold worse, like by far. So, I said, I got to go back into treatment again. I can't do this. Like, I need to be in a safe environment because I know what I'm going to do if I'm not. So I get into another state-run facility again, and there is no, being on that for 5 years, there is no detox from that. There's no protocol they can give you. So I'm taking Motrin, Bentyl, Vistarol, just, comfort meds, things like that. So it was brutal. But I finished the 28-day program where I met another female, and from there to another 45-day program directly after that, because I still wasn't ready to go. So I did a 28-day completed, went to a 45-day program. The first one I was in, so I met I met another female there who says, "Oh, if you're going there, I'll come get you when you're done. We'll stay in my area, this and that." And of course I agreed to it. And so that 45 days come up on the second treatment. She comes, picks me up. And this time I leave to there being no home at all. So this time it was just hotel rooms. And so now I'm just bouncing around from hotel room to hotel room. And the very first night I get out, I drink. That very first night, she was already drinking the whole time. I've been gone. And the first night I'm in the bar and then just staying at different hotel rooms and stuff like that. So, we did that for a while, and I'm wanted at this point by almost all of southeastern Pennsylvania, like 5 different counties for violations and everything like that. And so me and her were kind of going separate ways. So I was looking for a place to stay, and I came across this place, and it was called Safe Haven. And just the name of it, I was like, that's exactly what I need. Like, it sounds perfect. I need a safe place to lay low. And so I went there. It's in Pennsylvania as well. And I'm still doing the same stuff though. I'm drinking, I'm breaking curfew to come back to the place. I'm hoping they're not going to give me a breathalyzer. And I always had an ID on me. I needed to carry an ID, and I was hoping to try to find a job again and this and that. But I would always keep it like hidden on me, my boxers or something like that. So just in case I was ever stopped, they hopefully don't find it and see who I am. So the one day I'm walking down the street, I think I had a bottle in my hand. There's something stupid I was doing walking down the street out here, and a cop stops me, gives me a thorough search, and finds the ID and runs my name, sees that I'm wanted in like 5 different counties. They immediately throw me in the back of the car, take me up to Northampton County in PA. I do time there. Every single county drops a detainer on me, and they all want their back time. So, the time I owe them. So I spent some time in Northampton County. I go from there back down to Philly to the House of Corrections in CFCF down on State Road. This was before House of Corrections closed, and thank God it did, because it's just a very inhumane jail for sure. So I did some more time there, went from there to Montgomery County. And then from Montgomery County, I did my time there, was transferred over to Delaware County at George W. Hill Prison, finished some time there, and then
You're
was able
taking the tour.
Oh, no, that's what it was. Yeah. And that's the thing. I couldn't get comfortable anywhere, because next thing I know in another couple months or so, I'm going to another one, and it's just starting all over again. It was absolutely horrible. It was horrible. And during this time, for this whole decade or so, I lost complete communication with my family. They had to let go with love. They could not watch me kill myself anymore. No phone calls, no commissary, no letters, no nothing. It was just me and them damn 4 walls. That was it. Which was just so much worse. And I resented them for that at that time. Little did I know, like when I finally realized, they had to just let go of love and just hope and pray that I found my way, which I completely respect them for. And our relationship is amazing. So, just to finish up what I was saying, I went to Bucks County, finished my time there, getting a work release program over there, which I don't leave the grounds, but I'm in the bakery over there baking bread. I'm making like $5 a week. And so at least I'm able to buy a couple things for myself while I'm in there. And they're very strict about verifiable addresses to leave to. And I'm homeless, so I don't have an address to give them, or a family member or anyone that really wants anything to do with me at this point. And I come across a guy who owns a recovery house that's willing to take me in. I was getting food stamps by the states, and that's typically how we paid in Philadelphia for recovery houses. A lot of times you give them your EBT card, and that pays your rent because it gives food to the house. Not the most legal of ways to do it, but pretty much what they did. And so, I sat for like 2 extra months of waiting to get this address, and I finally get it. They say it's okay. So I get discharged. It's like a monsoon when I get out of this jail. It's literally torrential downpours. I have to take like 5 buses to get there. Finally get there. I'm sopping wet. I walk in the door, and a house manager smoking crack. Like, you have got to be kidding me. So,
Wow.
and now, mind you, I have some years under me, but it's literally of just not using. Like, there was no program. I didn't work on myself. I was living jail life. That's all it was. It was just me and my own thoughts and just watching my back and living that lifestyle. And I get there and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Because like this time I really thought I could do it. Like once I got out and get myself to a program. And so it didn't take long. I didn't, initially I was doing pretty good. I get there, since the house manager's doing what he does, no one's eating. You're supposed to be getting 3 meals a day, this and that. And, I finally have some weight back up and, I want to eat. And so I'm like, why are we not eating? And, I'm really not getting an answer. So I end up picking a lock, breaking my way down into the basement where there's a freezer. And I look in the freezer and it's full of meat. And I'm like, why are we not eating? So I confronted him about it. And he said, well, why don't you do it then? I said, all right, enough said. That's what I'll do. So I started using my time there. I got in service in the house a bit, started cooking like 3 meals a day for the whole house. And it didn't take long before the house manager goes on a run and doesn't come back at all. Now there's no manager. The owner did recognize that I stepped up in the kitchen and was doing some things and said, well, why don't you manage it? I said, yeah, sure. That sounds good to me. No problem. Mostly because, first of all, I haven't been able to pay rent for the house. I'm probably going to be back out on the street. So, of course, I jumped at it, and it didn't take long before, I had to send everybody from the house to the meetings and make sure they're getting where they need to go. So I send them up to a meeting, and I had to stay behind and do like housework and stuff, like office work and stuff like that, and which was a total lie. And I would sit in my room and get drunk. I stopped worrying about my own recovery and started worrying too much about theirs and what they need to do. And it didn't take long at all before, and they'd come home from a meeting and, we would do a wrap up meeting at night and I'd be up front holding the wrap up meeting, facilitating the group drunk. And, it just wasn't good. And some others too, but there was also some good people there that were really doing the right thing that I could have stuck with. But it was always the circles I surrounded myself with. Like I tell people, especially in recovery, if you show me your circle, I'll show you what your recovery looks like. It's that simple. And to this day, I need to continuously look at my circle because if I have people, I need people to fit my future and not my past. I have to at all times. If I feel like I'm the smartest person in a room, I'm in the wrong fucking room, period. At the end of the day, like I need to continue to learn and continue to grow constantly. If I look at my circle and there's not people in my circle where they inspire me or encourage me or expect more out of me or push me to do better, I'm not in a circle. I'm in a cage. That's really what it is at the end of the day. And I've been in that mental prison for so long in my life, for 20 years of my life. And little did I know the whole time that the door is locked from the inside and I had the key the whole time. That's what's so crazy about addiction. And I hit it pretty well. So I stepped down to a step down house. Very first month I couldn't pay rent and I get kicked out. So now I'm back on the street again. Then mind you, right before this after this, I'm sorry. So, okay, I get kicked out of this house. So I'm down by Spring Garden, the L stop, which is a train that runs through Philadelphia. And I'm at this train stop, Spring Garden, it's called. And I had way too much to drink, some other things in me, and I fall down 3 flights of stairs, and I cannot walk when I hit the bottom. And they get me into a hospital. I'm in a wheelchair. I cannot walk. I can't feel anything from my waist down. My back is completely screwed up. And, they're taking me in and out of bed in lifts and like a lift and like the slings and stuff like that. I have a catheter in. I have another grown man wiping my ass, which was completely just so humbling, so humiliating. And so they got me my vitals clear, and then they discharged me to Cliveden Rehabilitation Center, another part of Philadelphia in Germantown, which is a nursing home. So I'm like 26, 27 years old there, in a wheelchair, can't walk, just wheeling around with, 80-year-old, 90-year-old patients with Alzheimer's, dementia, and things like that. I was the youngest person there for sure. And I still found a way to say, I need a day pass to go to the welfare office to do this or do that. And they'd say, okay, so we'll take you in a van. You just need someone to accompany you. So I would think of the first person that would co-sign my bullshit again. And they'd pick me up in a van. That person would go with me. They'd drop me off in front of the office. And I'd say, all right, let's go. And they'd push me in a wheelchair up the street to the liquor store. First thing I did. And I'm putting bottles in my pockets and stuff. And I take them back with me. And I'm sitting in my room alone in a nursing home in my mid-20s, not able to walk, drinking myself to sleep.
This still wasn't your sign. Falling down 3 flights of stairs and being in a wheelchair, still not the sign.
Still wasn't enough. I was the definition of stubborn. Like, I mean, literally, it still was not enough for me. There were stabbings along the way. Like, I just never got it. Like, it just was never enough. And even when I thought I did, I attempted. I said, well, maybe not. And let me try again. I had to relearn the hard way again and again and again and again. And so, finally, after a few months of being there, I'm able to get back on my feet. They did this like electric shock stuff on my legs and all. And I finally was up and walking, and I'm back out. And then, but I'm back out on the street again and doing the same thing. So I figured, I got to make some money. So I got back into lifestyle, selling drugs and stuff like that. And not even having a home, just living on the street and supplying the streets with things like that. And, after that, was really my turning point this time. So finally something happened that, God said, all right, you want to keep doing this. I humbled you every time, but I'm really going to show you now. And, that's
okay. Here we go, Mike. You pushed me too far.
This is your last chance. I'm not going to continue to put you through this to show you, this is it right here. And that's how I look at it. And so I went to collect on some money that was owed to me, down in Frankfurt, Philadelphia. And, it did not go as I had planned. And big physical fight. There's weapons involved, everything like that. And, it's over with. The guy leaves. I leave. I start walking down the street. It's dark out. It's at night. And the guy came back out from the house with a hammer, came up from behind me and just hit me right in the side of the head and tried to take my life with a hammer, and shattered my cranium. I was in the street dying for about 2 hours before an ambulance got to me. They rushed me into brain surgery. They had to pick pieces of my skull out of the left side of my brain. And then they did a craniotomy, and they removed this whole left side of my skull and replaced it with titanium and closed it with 30 stitches. This was my turning point. I woke up as John Doe in the ICU. I didn't know my name. I didn't know how I got there. Didn't know what happened. And I had this crazy feeling I've never felt before, though. And mind you, I looked in the mirror, and I'm looking at this dude with half his head shaved with 30 staples in it. And I don't even know who the fuck I'm looking at. It was the most powerless feeling of my life. I didn't know what was going on. But the craziest part is, and this was really, truly a spiritual awakening for me, and not everybody has this big white light moment for a spiritual awakening. Some just happens along the way, and we start to notice that we're doing things we couldn't have done on our own before. A lot of times other people notice it in us before we notice it in ourselves. For me, though, I kind of had a Bill W moment, in that hospital bed. And I had this I knew the word of forgiveness, and I knew someone would say, I'm sorry. Okay, I forgive you. And you leave it at that. It was just a word to me. But I woke up with this overwhelming sense and actual feeling and emotion of forgiveness, and knowing deep down that I probably put myself there for my own actions, and it's no one else's fault but mine, and took accountability from that point on. The craziest thing also is it was so ingrained in me from doing this for so long, I still had an obsession. I still knew I was an addict. When I woke up, I didn't know who I was, but I knew I was an addict. That's how ingrained it was. Like, it was amazing.
Powerful.
Now, I can't walk, I can't talk, and I can't write, and I'm John Doe. And so I was finally able to get across without speaking, to a nurse that, I don't want the drugs. Like, of course, I came out of surgery on medication, but that was one of the first times where I absolutely willingly refused to take any narcotics, and made my way through that brain surgery for the next year with Motrin. It was absolutely horrendous. It was so painful.
Now, did you also have to go through withdrawal all over again?
A little bit, yeah. But by the time I woke up, because I woke up sometime later, it wasn't that bad. It was more the pain of, like, my head. It was swollen, and now there's a plate there, and the swelling has nowhere to go. So it was like this cabin pressure just built in my head that would not go away. It was more pain than anything.
Wow.
So
was it like a constant mega headache?
oh yeah, migraine's putting it lightly. Yeah,
Oh,
for
wow.
sure. So, and I'm not going to take any narcotics. So here's what saved my life also, though, is, one of the nurses was actually in a program of Alcoholics Anonymous and had some people come out, and they actually 12-stepped me in the hospital. I can't even talk back to them or anything like that, but I understand what they're saying. I hear them. And
that's probably a good thing. That was, we're talking about God. That was on purpose.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So I'm like, you know what? I just threw my hands up. Like, nodded my head. I threw my hands up. Okay. So they discharged me there with no aftercare plans, no neurology set up, no nothing. And so it was a perfect stranger that didn't know me from a can of paint, that allowed me in his home to start my recovery process. And that just goes to show you how loving and how deep these fellowships do go. And that they will go to any length to help a newcomer really try to get this thing if they're willing. And that's where I find myself today, being one of those kind of people, thank God. So, by his grace and his mercy, I was able to do this. And so I'm living in his house. This first year, I'm being picked up in a van and getting brought down to Moss Rehab in Broad and Olney down in Philly. And I'm doing physical therapy, speech therapy, vocational therapy, and they are busting my ass. But I'm working my ass off. There's like a year of this. I'm finally walking. I'm finally talking. I got a terrible, terrible stutter. I sound like an idiot when I talk. Can barely write. And then this is about a year, and then I'm facing a violation still this whole time. So I still have a violation to look forward to. Yeah. So I'm like, all right, but I'm at this point of acceptance now, like of surrender and acceptance. I said, you know what, I got to get it behind me. So like, instead of being on the run for so much of my life, I said, I have to get this done. So I turned myself in, did 9 more months in jail. Still not even there mentally, still way off. So I get out and I check myself into a psych unit, because I really needed to treat the mental health and what was really going on in my head at this point, and the PTSD that came along with the incident and everything like that. And it's usually, you go into these places and you'll be there 14 days or so. They clear you, you go. I was there for 3 months. My insurance stopped paying after a couple of weeks. They scholarship me because they don't even know what to do with me. They don't even know where to send me, how to get me any better. And they do cognitive testing a few times. They deemed me mentally retarded 3 different times. And pretty much told me after 3 months hit, they said, okay, our best option for you is to live the rest of your life in a traumatic brain institute. So acceptance is a huge part of my story, because when I was out there and homeless and doing what I was doing, I accepted the fact that that's probably the best my life's ever going to be. And I accepted it. When I heard this, when they told me that, I literally had a vision of them pushing me up to a window in a wheelchair and just staring out a window all day, being 32 years old. I'm like, I absolutely do not accept that. I know I'm making progress. You might not see it, but I feel it and I know it. And I know there's more. And that's what I held on to. I just held on to faith and the people that I surrounded myself with. I changed everything. I left there and changed neighborhoods. new phone, all new numbers with people from programs and in recovery. I completely changed everything like that. So that, especially that first year and two of recovery, was, for me, it was more discovery than recovery. It was more finding about who I really was, rather than recovering. First, I had to discover who the hell I was again. So it was a long, long road early on. And, I'm finally able to the point where things are going pretty good. I can get back to work. And now, mind you, I meet a nurse in the facility I was in, the psych unit.
Of course you did.
Of course, as typical Mike fashion, that's what I did. And and I married her. We had a child. He's actually he just turned 4 actually. And he'll be 4 on the 1st. I'm sorry, he'll be 4 on this February 1st. And he's the most amazing little boy. However, I was not in the right state of relationship. When we talk about relationships early on in recovery, I don't put a time to a year and this and that. Like, I don't get into that. But until you were able to do the internal work and know how to even manage your own emotions again, and like take care of yourself and do all these things, you have no business worrying about someone else's, because you'll quickly be outside of yours, and you're just never going to address the problem that you needed to deal with, the root issues of yourself. You have to get that taken care of. And I didn't do that, like I was on the way to do that, but it was too early for me. So long story short, end up divorcing. Because then I kind of look at it back and like, that really wasn't so smooth either on this person's part, considering the condition I was in. I kind of felt like I was, taken advantage of. And, but like, I made the choice to do it. I take ownership. So it is what it is. But so we have a child together now. So I have 3 biological sons. I got back to the point where I was working, and I got a great job with a commercial roofing contractor. I was a marketing coordinator there. I was making a great amount of money, doing fantastic. And then, I'm working a program. And then I realized how stressful my job's becoming, and worrying about quotas and commissions and this and that. And I find myself not sleeping at night. And I knew it was starting to affect my recovery. So anything that affects my recovery, like, I have to put that before anything. Anything I put before it is what I'm going to lose first.
Right.
So,
right, because no recovery, it's dominoes. Recovery goes, everything else is going to go along with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I really had to think about it and pray on it. And, I just knew it was time for a change. And I knew that he'd provide. I know that God is going to provide as long as I listen and just follow his will for me and not my own, because I did it for so damn long and didn't want to learn. So, and that's what I did. I made the change. I left that job making a quarter of the money that I was making, at this new job. And I started working at an inpatient facility. And being a recovery specialist there, and a 12-step instructor, and started doing that. And that's how I started getting into the field. Did that for a couple of years, and then moved into a long-term TC program for young men and helped them navigate their way through recovery with being a recovery coach and a residential counselor. Which leads me up to kind of like now. So, and I get this, so I go through this divorce, and, I moved out of the house. And I'm kind of staying in limbo right now till I find my own place. I'm staying in this like extended stay, like hotel. And my recovery's strong though. I'm working in the program, working in the solution, living in the solution, helping other people, sponsoring people. And I get this call out of nowhere from a friend of mine that I knew since at least 20 years of my life. We grew up a block apart. And she reaches out and says, I need help. And no hi, no anything, just I need help. I said, okay, all right, well, hello, how are you? It's good to see you. Good to hear from you again. What can I do? And she needed help getting somebody into treatment, a very close family member, we'll say. And I did. And within 8 hours, I had him in treatment. And so it was amazing. And I kept in touch with her, and we reconnected. And since we reconnected, it just felt like, she was in a previous marriage, I was as well, and they were both kind of learning experiences for us. to know what we do and don't want. And we found it in each other, and it's absolutely amazing. So we're together now. We never left each other's sides since that day that we reconnected. She has 2 children, a 17-year-old son and a 9-year-old girl as well. So we have 5 kids combined. You know, we have the dog, 2 cats, and we have a house here. I'm out here in Delaware County, in Springfield. I have a house out here. She is a very empathetic, just caring woman. She's an RN, so she's just caring in nature, and she's a hospice nurse. And it's funny because she helps people be comfortable on their way off of this earth and leaving this earth. And I'm on the other side, like trying to help people find life again. So it's like this weird balance.
Right. You're trying to get people to stay,
On the way out. And so our like pillow talk is it's crazy, but we're able to do that, and it's amazing. Is a rock for me for sure. So then it led up to seeing this platform called TikTok, and I just got on it to watch funny videos and stuff, and I said, what the hell, why don't I just post a video and just put some words of encouragement out there? And I did, and I just didn't stop doing it, and I just kept doing it, and it just grew and grew. And now, I consider myself a big part of the recovery community on TikTok.
Mm-hmm. It's a big community too. People are shocked when they find it.
It's huge. I never knew it was there. Like, it's insane. So then, like, we, even not long ago, we had, we called it the Robriety Bash. It was like this big thing we did. And I had another really big content creator fly up from Texas. Another one flew up from South Carolina. One drove in from Maryland. Another one from across the state in PA. And we all got together and went down and gave back in Kensington. And it was just amazing, an amazing weekend. They stayed at the house here, and it was awesome. We're going to do some more things like that moving forward, but that's what kind of planted the seed for me for the outreach and the foundation that we started and everything. So, I started using the Recovery Army hashtag just because I feel like, we fight as a united front. I hate the stigma that surrounds drug addiction. I really hate it because there's addiction all around us in so many different ways. But the stigma that surrounds drug addiction specifically, it just irks me. And I want to do my best and just chip away at it. It'll never end, but I'll be damned if I'm not going to play my part and use my voice, and like, these places can shut me down, or, they'll never shut me up, period, at the end of the day. So, God is so good. We're now from going from not being able to walk, talk, and write. This is 6.5 years ago this happened. Statistically wise, medically, 50% of people that have that injury either die within 5 years or decline severely in mental capacity. So this is 6.5 years ago, and I'm stronger than ever in every way. Right. I'm no longer driven by fear. I'm led by faith. And if I keep that first and that line of communication open, the doors that are opening are absolutely amazing. So we did the hashtag, then we did the outreach, and then a couple times after. So, I do lives and do videos, and so many people want to be a part of it. It's amazing how caring they are and want to help give back and get in service.
Yeah, now tell us about Recovery Army Outreach.
Yeah, so it's just founded now. It is recognized in the state of Pennsylvania. Within the next week, it'll be known nationwide and internationally as a charitable foundation. So we can take donations through the site and directly put them to the cause. And really, we just go down, support homeless with hot meals and clothes and everything they need, just to let them know that they're loved. We do care. They do matter. We've been there. We understand there is another way, and just try to plant some seeds. Hopefully we find someone willing, and we have. It has happened, that'll actually come off of the street and go into treatment, try to change their life, which is ultimately helping those, and also finding these resources and getting people into treatment or any kind of, whether it's inpatient, IOP, therapists, whatever that may be. That's our primary goal, is just to help the still sick and suffering. Purpose. There's that. And like I said, from not being able to walk, talk, and write, and then I connected with We Are Warriors magazine based out of Canada. And now I'm a published writer and speaker with them. So when I say God is good, like God is good, it's absolutely amazing. You know, the word impossible does not exist in my vocabulary. Anytime I see that word, it makes me cringe. It literally does. The word itself says I'm possible. Like it should just be removed from the dictionary. Literally nothing is impossible. Literally nothing. You know, and I know that now. And I know that on the other side of pain and suffering is such greatness, and just you learn so much about yourself. So I don't necessarily welcome challenges in my life now. I know they're going to come, but I'm ready. Like my boots are strapped. I'm good. I'm ready. You know, I'll take them head on. Like I'm going through them, and I'm going to grow through them. So, you know, so now I'm doing that. So I got the outreach going. I work with the magazine We Are Warriors in Canada. They're going to bring me on board with them, as well as a director of addiction, to help people that need resources in the U.S. From Canada, because they can't really help because of universal health care. So we're partnering up. I'm really good friends with the founder of that and the owner of that. You know, him and his girlfriend. And, you know, so that's really the primary focus now. And during 2020, in the early pandemic, I started a recovery clothing line. I was out on back surgery from work right before the quarantine hit the first time around. And then quarantine hit, so mine was like super long. I was out, and then quarantined. I had one day on the street. That was it. And but I just used my time wisely. It was 2020. I'm thinking of the year. I'm like, all right, 2020 means perfect vision. That's what I'm using it for. It's going to be 2020 vision this year. That's what I'm doing. What can I do while I'm sitting on my ass? Like, because otherwise, like, I need to work on something. I need to do something. I'll go insane, and I might pick up again. Got the laptop, started doing things, designing things and all this stuff. And it's something I always wanted to do anyway. And I did it. And once I put down all my goals of what I wanted to do that year, and I surpassed every single one of them. Just
Awesome.
continue. So not only, you could have told me 3 months ago where I'd be now, and I'd be like, nah, you're lying. No way. Just every month just seems to be more and more and more doors opening. And just as long as I put my recovery first and put God first, like literally, it's just, life's been amazing. So we're being successful with the clothing line, and all the proceeds from that go to the nonprofit. We're doing the nonprofit, you know, continuously putting content out there, doing the speeches. You know, I also got certified as a master professional public motivational inspirational speaker. So once the pandemic ends, I plan on hitting the road. My goal 2021 is to touch all 50 states and carry the message, and also do an outreach in different cities. A lot, but I look at it like there's 365 days in the year and 50 states. So I think I could work that out, you know, God willing, we'll see. So, you know, that leads me here. And any chance I get to talk about, I do, because I just, you know, I just have to show people that there is hope. You know, I tattooed the word hope on my knuckles some time ago to remind myself when I look down to hang on, pain ends. Now, though, I'm at the point, and that's when, like, I had to relearn that I had to live life on life's terms. Now I can live life on God's terms, whether that be a good thing or a bad thing. I can manage it. I know it's meant to be. It is what it is, and I accept it completely. So now I kind of changed that to help other people evolve, and that's where I'm at today. And that's what I'm able to do today. And I'm just a vessel. Like I'm just, people say, oh, thanks, you're so inspiring. You encouraged me. You helped me do this. Like I really didn't do anything. Like I'm just a vessel. Like, and God had a purpose for me. I turned all that pain into the purpose He had aside for me, and that's what I'm able to do today. So I'm just so
well,
grateful.
from everything that I heard and from your story, I think you're gonna hit all your goals. I believe in you. I believe in you, 100%, 100%. You are definitely blessed and favored. I will absolutely say that. And you know, this story is so inspiring and so impactful. You know, I say this after every interview because it's true, but somebody is going to look at this story and go, that's my story. That's my story. You know, yep. And there's somebody out there that's going through the same thing, you know, who needs to hear it. So thank you again, Mike. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. This was awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, I greatly appreciate it. Really appreciate you inviting me on. I'd love to come back anytime. So it's what I do. You know, it's a way of life for me. So Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We will definitely, that's one thing I want to do is I want to keep up with my
Yes, yes.
interviewees and see how it's going, you know, like a year or whatever down the road. So
I just have a word of encouragement for anybody that might be in a bad spot, or whether they're in recovery or addiction or life period. Just try to stay positive. Like, these things are difficult right now, especially now. And being positive to me isn't just walking around with a smile on my face all day. It's just knowing that, like, even on my worst day, a better day is gonna come. Like, it's gonna pass. Like, this too shall pass. Like, just keep up and don't quit on yourself. You know, just don't quit on yourself. That's the only time we truly ever fail, is when we just don't even try and give up on ourselves. So we learn through failure and mistakes. Don't be afraid to make them, and just learn from them. If you're beating yourself up about them, then maybe you didn't learn the lesson yet. But there's always a silver lining, and there's always something that you know, we learn from everything we do. You know, good or bad. So keep faith.
absolutely. Absolutely. So again, Mike, thanks so much.
Thank you.
And we're done. And I'll like edit the beginning and edit the end. But yeah, that was awesome. Mike, thank you so much. That was so good.
What did we get time wise there? That was pretty long, wasn't it?
I think we got some trying to